It's from random thing to another. If you go to Cambridge over the next few months, you will find top on their list, TripAdvisor, an exhibition on pineapples at the Fitzwilliam Museum. I'm only joking. There's been a conference there this week too. Academics have been discussing the power and politics of the exotic fruit. Dr. Victoria Avery is Keeper of Applied Arts at the museum and one of the co-curators of the exhibition and organisers of the conference, and a big fan of pineapples. Victoria, thank you very much indeed for being with us. Chris and I have pineapples with us today. Just your standard, your standard Costa Rican supermarket number. Is there any other country really that produces them to the same level as Costa Rica?
Well, there are other countries. In fact, it was interesting at the conference. We heard about, the slightly dirty side of the pineapple.
Yes.
Costa Rica really is the world's greatest producer, and I think we have to be a bit aware nowadays of the cost really to the country. That actually, it is quite problematic. How can we buy a pineapple once the king of the fruit? For a quid, when actually, the pesticides that are being used are actually very, very toxic and carcinogenic. So
yes,
I think
indeed.
for the actual Costa Ricans, it's not such a happy story. It's causing pollution and many, many health threats. So I think we need be a little bit aware nowadays of the cost to the local population of the production. Actually,
yeah, two big American firms kind of dominate that, don't they? And basically, people don't get paid very well, and some of the strongest pesticides in the world other countries have banned are used there.
Yeah.
But in terms of the history of the pineapple more broadly, and our passion, the Victorians' passion for the pineapple, tell us a little bit about the history of the fruit.
Well, the reason that in our exhibition, Feast and Fast, actually it's all about food production in Europe from 1500 to 1800, but the pineapple does have a special place there because the museum's founder, his maternal grandfather was a very, very wealthy Dutch merchant, and he was the first person in the UK around the 1715s to grow kind of a commercial crop of pineapples, 30 or 40 pineapples a year in Richmond upon Thames. So this was a great big feat because the Dutch had been trying to grow the tropical fruit in the temperate climate of Europe really from the kind of 1680s. But our founder's grandfather, Matthew Decker, was able to produce more of them and bigger than the Dutch. So of course this was a great success. And his botanical feat was celebrated by a chap called Richard Bradley. And Bradley was the first professor of botany at Cambridge University. So what with our founder's grandfather and the first professor of botany all leaping up and down and saying how exciting this was. This was a kind of a particularly Cambridge story, which is why we felt able to celebrate the larger history of the pineapple in our conference last week. And I think it explains why we've got pineapple finials on our front railings.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
there you go.
And I don't know if you're talking about tourist attractions. So to celebrate the show and to have a fun, funky thing on our front lawn, we got Bombus and Parr to erect an enormous pineapple which illuminates at night on the front lawn of the Fitzwilliam Museum, and it's up until the end of the show, until the April the 26th. So talking about sort of curious tourist features, I hope that the Fitz's funky, fun, family-friendly pineapple might actually be up there on TripAdvisor.
People love a good old whinge about preparing pineapples, don't they, Victoria? They're like, well, it's far too difficult and they're very spiky and all the rest of it. What are your top tips for eating one? We have one here. I have a sharp knife, so go ahead.
Well, in fact, I think we should be lucky that pineapples have been modified to make them a hell of a lot easier to cut than they were originally. And actually, they've been shaped, they've been modified to fit better into a can, because originally pineapples came in different shapes and sizes. Yeah, they were more kind of conical. But really from the late 19th century, to make it easier, and less waste, they've actually been grown so that the shape of the body of the fruit is actually slightly more like a can, and I think we should bring back slightly more diversely shaped
knobbly
pineapples.
ones.
Yeah, but they used to have much more serrated leaves, so much more
very
prickly.
sharp.
So I think just grab the leaves quite boldly, and then I'd just get a sharp saw and watch your fingers, and then slice.
A saw?
A saw, yeah, just a sharp knife or like a bread knife.
Bow saw.
Yeah, saw, yeah, and just like kind of cut the skin off and then really enjoy them, in slices or whatever.
Lovely. You're a star. Victoria, thank you very much indeed. It's very, very good
great.
to speak to you. Do you know how to test that your pineapple is ready for eating?
Go on.
Try and pull that leaf out the top there.